Peace. Good morning, family. How you doing? It's Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. I just want to say good morning to you for everybody that checks in today. Today is September the 13th. It's already almost mid-month. It's like September is just like fly. It's flying by. So for those who are September babies, know that your day is coming. If it has already passed, happy birthday to you. If it is coming up, happy birthday to you. If it is today, happy birthday to you. So for all my September babies out there, Virgos, whatever it is, that's not my thing. But good morning, and I thank you for being here. Today is another day for you to be successful. Today thing. So I'm gonna tell you where this came from. Miss Selena, where you been? Good morning to you. I'm gonna tell you where this came from. So I was listening to another podcast yesterday. It was really a podcast in the Facebook world in the group, and Dr. Omar, which is one of my mentors, and she was talking about uh, the core. And the wild thing is, I was in that headspace like yesterday, talking about. I didn't say it out loud, but I said it to myself about the core. And to me, a lot of times about the core, like, so transparent moment. I go through periods of times throughout the year to where I self reflect. And when I begin to self reflect, I look at my core. I know from the image, people's like, okay, what's he going to talk about? Doing sit ups. He's going to be talking about. We're talking about something that a lot of times we don't pay attention to. We're talking about something a lot of times that we have conversations with ourselves, because what I want you to begin to look at, and what I want you to begin to just be open and honest about, is your core, because I want you to tighten your core. I want you to tighten your core up. I want you to look at things as it is. Like for me, just being completely open, uh, uh, tightening my core is really looking at my true thoughts, my true process of thoughts. Because a lot of times we as individuals, or we as men, I can only speak for men, we as men, we establish or we develop these core beliefs that things are supposed to happen. And when we develop these core beliefs that things are supposed to happen, we kind of get institutionalized to in a way. Now, what was the word I used yesterday? Um, it'll come to me. We kind of get institutionalized in the way that we think these things are supposed to happen. Now, from the perspectives piece. Good morning, Miss Scott. Oh man, I want that word. I'm trying to remember that word. Um, it'll come to me. So it'll come eventually. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Trust and believe it's going to come. That aha moment. All right, so let's go. Let's go ahead and jump in to tighten the core. So tightening of the core is tightening of the way you process your thought. So let's go with the definition. All right, for those that may be new to the platform, you will get inverted definitions. You'll get red over white or white over red. So the definition of core is a basic, essential, or enduring part. Part. Now, the core we're talking about is you. The core we're talking about is your thoughts. The core we're talking about is your beliefs. That's the core that we're speaking about. Because if you can go into the gym and work your abs and go into or sit at home or lay at home and do ab exercises, or you don't do it at all, eventually at a certain point in time, when throughout the year, you're going to look at your stomach and you're going to say something about it. Like, oh man, I need to do this. But we don't look at it that way for our personal selves. We don't look at it that way. Well, I can't say we don't, because some of us do. A lot of times we don't look at it that way. Like, how are my essential thoughts? And are they healthy thoughts? Are the thoughts that I'm having, is it healthy for me to continue to think that way? That's what we're communicating about today. So put the word core inside the chat, because I want you to look at it. I want you to take a hold of it. I want you to take shape of it. I want you to examine it. Just like when you look at the core of an apple, or the core of like a mango, or a core of a peach. In the middle of the core lies the seed. The seed can't be planted if the core is empty. The harvest will never come to pass if the core is disrupted. It will never happen, because you can't plant seeds without the core itself. Now, the meat of it may look good. The meat of the pear may look, it may look real well, but if the core is hollow, then there will never be the planting of a fruitful harvest. So the basic, essential, or enduring part. So I want you to focus on the red over white, which is essential. What are your essential thoughts? Or in the enduring part of who you are? That thing that makes you tick. To go from pain to pain, because it's going to happen. Life happens. Life is going to happen. But it's the essential part of you that gets you through it. It's that essential conversation that you have with yourself when you're in the midst of that storm. It's the thought process that you take in order for you to acknowledge that that exists. But in order for you to come out of that, you have to understand that there is a thought that you have to have that is going to make you understand that if I'm ever going to get through this, I have to dig deep inside of myself, because I have a core belief system that is going to allow me to endure, to get me out of this storm, and to get me into a place that that I'm striving to go to. And the second definition of core is of a central importance, basic and fundamental. Now, the inversion on this, again, is red over white. Of a central importance and fundamental. So, of a central importance, a lot of times we put it in front of us, but that's not the core. That's not that thing that is going to love you, even when that thing you put in front of you goes away. Right? You're just as important as everybody else. You're just as important as you saying yes to everybody. Being important to you is still saying no. Being important enough to you is still allowing yourself to be central and centered in your own place of peace. That is those core thoughts. Like, man, I can't continue to think this way, because that to the destination, because the thing that's important to the destination is you. It is of central importance, the core of you, the seed that's planted, that's buried so deep down inside of you. Those fundamental skills of communicating with yourself. Now, for those who know, I'm a firm believer of having conversations with yourself. sitting down with you and communicating with you. Because a lot of times when we don't communicate with ourselves, we won't pay attention that we're self-sabotaging everything that's around us. That's because we didn't pay attention to the words that we say to ourselves. We didn't pay attention to the thoughts that we're having with ourselves. We didn't pay attention to the room that we found ourselves in. We didn't pay attention to the moment. Because when you don't pay attention to the moment, you can lose the very core. Because no one else is going to tighten it for you. Because it's not theirs. They're not see it the same way you see it. Oh, the world is so evil. Okay. Not the world that I live in. Because the world that I live in, I choose to acknowledge the good things that I have. Those core beliefs. So now let's begin to tighten the core. Let's go into this deep dive, right? So the core can be helpful. Your core beliefs can be helpful just as well as it can be unhelpful or neutral. But it's how you think. It's how you acknowledge the who that you are, how you acknowledge where you've come from, how you acknowledge the process of thought, or how you acknowledge your feelings, or how you acknowledge your emotions. Because the core is the thing that affects you mentally and your overall life satisfaction. You ever heard somebody say that rocked me to the core? It rocked you to the core, yes, but now what? What is your next step? What do you have coming up next? What's going to be next for you? I'll tell you, tighten your core. Tighten your core. Ask yourself the question, what experiences do I have that shows that this thing that I see, how do I see it? If that thing that you're saying is not true, then it could be sabotaging everything that you have within you. Like, okay, is the world a dangerous place? The world may be dangerous, but where I am right now is what's important to me. How I communicate with my children is what's important to me. How I communicate overall is what's important to me. That's not selfish. It's centered. That's your core. Because the tightening process is really shifting you from different layers, because you go inside so many rooms throughout the day, or you sit and watch so many TV shows throughout the day, that there's so much influence that happens that you see all the time, but that shouldn't shape who you are. Now, there are things that are influential, yes, but you're the shapeshifter. You have to understand that my self-talk is so important to me when I look at things, that it won't damage the who that I am. Right? And I think sometimes the hard thing is for us to look at us even when we're hurting. I know for me, looking at things from a perspective sometimes when we don't do the things that we know that we're supposed to do, we kind of live in in the psychology of a privileged state of mind. Kind of like, our youth, that some people say, our kids, they feel like they're so privileged. Shoot, where you think they got it from? A lot of times we need to look at, okay, there is a root cause to what our children are doing. So now let's dial back the root cause. There may be some family trauma that hasn't been dealt with. There may be some dirt that no one has dealt with. So then that becomes compounded and it gets layered multiple times that it's not examined. So now let's go to the core of it. Out at that particular time, then therefore we're not working the core. I'd rather have a core that's worked on than a core that has no resemblance of development. It's just like having a stomach. Now, I'm not talking about nobody's physical attributes. It's like having a stomach that's all over the place and having a stomach that has a six-pack. They're both stomachs. But what are you working on? Work on your health. Work on your mental health. It's just like working on eating right, eating healthy. Just because you have one stomach with a six-pack and another stomach without a six-pack, that doesn't mean that they're unhealthy. That means they eat different. So now, from the core perspective, think different. Establish those healthy belief systems. Establish those healthy assumptions. Because if you're ever going to be successful, you have to do what? You have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to fight through the situations and fight through the circumstances that is going to be surrounding you. So again, for me, learning about the core, learning about acknowledging that the core can be changed. Your belief system can be changed. You can change a generation when you change how you think. You can change a process of thought just as well as you can change where you plant your seeds in the natural sense as a farmer. So tighten your core. I know we're not perfect. I know that you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Things happen. But we have to be willing to work on it. We have to be willing to be vulnerable. We have to be willing to listen. We have to be willing to love. And we have to be willing to speak. And we have to be willing to be humble. Because tightening your core is a self-assessment. Right? Is the way that I'm thinking healthy? If the answer is no, then say that. If the way that I'm thinking or the way that I'm communicating, is it beneficial for the life that I want to live or the life that I'm living? If the answer is no, then say that. And then you look at, how do I make that no a yes? How are the thoughts that I'm having beneficial to me? How are the thoughts that I'm having beneficial to the circle that I surround myself with? How are the thoughts that I'm having is going to be helpful to the generation that comes after me? Tighten the core. Because it's yours. That's your responsibility. That's nothing you can put off on anybody else. It's all you. And because it's all you think, just like changing your socks, if you can change your socks, you can change the way you think. So tighten the core. Hey, I appreciate y'all. Just acknowledge the way that you think and look at how healthy it is. If the way that you think is not healthy, then find another way to communicate. I think that's all that I have. Yeah. But I definitely appreciate everybody for being here and those that have been watching thus far. Of course, this is show 200. And yes, it's been a long journey to be here. Yeah. I'm in a phase right now to where I'm changing, developing, I'm designing and redesigning the who that I am, the thoughts that I make, the steps that I take. So please be patient. I'm just in that in between time right now. So there's going to be a new development, but I have to look at my core, just like you. I have to look at my core. I have to look at myself for who that I am. And again, like I always say, this is just the open conversation that I'm having with myself that you're able to hear. I don't get up here and communicate and talk down. I get up here and I communicate and I talk out. Because if there is something that I say that touches you, trust and believe it touched me too. Phil says, same. I feel you. I think tightening our core, I think if we do a self-assessment with our core beliefs, I think we can change how we see things. We won't always hit the rocky roads, but when we hit the rocky roads, we know how to think. Because you're going to go from situation to situation, from pain to pain, from laughter to laughter, from love to love, from hurt to hurt. But that one thing that is going to be constant and consistent is your core. It's always going to be here. But guess what? You can change. You're not perfect. You can change. You're not always going to say the right thing. You can change. You're not always going to be in the right place. You can change. I change daily, whether it's small things, whether it's big things, whether it's in the moment. Change is inevitable, but are you willing to do it? Are you willing to tighten your core? All right, that's enough. I got things to do. Man, what I want y'all to do today, write down, tighten my core. So then under tighten my core, I want you to write down what are your 5 core beliefs that you know you need to change. Those 5 core beliefs that you know you need to change. That's like you're saying, like somebody saying, I'll never lose 5 pounds. Okay, you're right. You won't. You won't, because you already told yourself that you won't. You're not willing to work on it because the core of you already denied you the success because you told yourself that it won't happen. I will never finish this book. Of course you won't, because you've already told yourself that you won't. Now, so get on a sheet of paper, write down at the top, tighten my core, and then under it, 1 through 5. And what are the 5 core beliefs that you need to tighten up? And when you tighten it up, look at the actions that you've taken to tighten it up. And then you just duplicate that in other avenues of your life. It can change. You'll be like, you know what? Today I decided I won't do this again. Today I decided I won't say this again. Today I decided that it's self-sabotaging and it's not going to happen again. It becomes an immediate action. Not remedial, but an immediate action. That might be another one tomorrow. Immediate or remedial. And where are you at right now in your life? Are you establishing an immediate action or is it remedial action? All right, that's enough for real. All right, hey, show 200 tomorrow, 201. Hey, I appreciate y'all for being here. Hey, what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna put inside of the chat. So I'm gonna put inside the chat. And what I want you to do is to go ahead. How did I lose the tab? Because I got like 50 million tabs up there. I'm gonna put inside the chat and just subscribe to the podcast. Hey, y'all be blessed. Mr. R2 here at Consistency is Currency, your morning podcast of choice. Y'all enjoy y'all Tuesday. And today is another day for you to be successful. Peace.